January is usually quiet, same grocery run, same pharmacy, same drive home, but 2026 is different. A silent wave of new laws is about to hit California, and most seniors won't notice until it costs them money, time, or peace of mind. Before we dive into the 10 critical changes that will reshape your daily life, make sure to hit that subscribe button for Tax Hack Pro. We break down the complex laws and financial shifts so you can protect your wallet and your future. Starting in 2026, California is rolling out regulations that slip into everyday life unnoticed. The kind you don't hear about until your grocery bag rips in the parking lot, your rent conversation turns tense, or your insulin bill suddenly changes. None of these laws sound dramatic on their own, but together, they reshape how seniors live, pay, and move through their daily routines. That is why today we are breaking it down clearly. There is a ton of new legislation, and we have summarized 10 key changes seniors must know before they catch you off guard, and before it is too late to react. Number 1, the plastic bag ban. It usually starts with something small. You are halfway to the car, the grocery bag cutting into your fingers when the bottom gives out, or you feel that quiet panic when you realize you forgot your reusable bags again. And now you're standing at the checkout, watching the cashier reach for paper bags you didn't plan to pay for. These moments feel minor, but for many seniors, they are exactly how bigger problems begin. Starting January 1st, 2026, California will ban plastic bags at most stores. This includes grocery stores, pharmacies, liquor stores, and convenience stores, not just the thin ones. Even the thicker plastic bags that were once called reusable will be gone. Paper bags will still be available, usually for a fee, with an exception for people receiving food assistance. On paper, this sounds simple. In real life, it changes how everyday errands feel, especially for older adults. For seniors, grocery shopping is not an occasional task. It is a routine. It involves medication pickups, weekly food runs, and small trips that add up. Many carry heavier items, shop alone, or use walkers, carts, or public transportation. Paper bags tear more easily. They are harder to grip, and when you are living on a fixed income, even small added costs start to register. 10 cents here, 10 cents there. It doesn't feel like much until you realize it happens every week, sometimes multiple times a week. The deeper issue is not the bag itself. It is the feeling of being pushed to adjust again. Another rule. Another habit to remember. Another moment where forgetting something simple creates stress. How many times can daily life add one more thing before it starts to feel overwhelming? And what happens when that small inconvenience shows up on a bad day when your hands are already sore, your balance isn't what it used to be, or you are rushing to get home before dark? Supporters of the ban argue it reduces waste and protects the environment. That may be true, but for seniors, the question is personal. Who carries the burden of these changes day to day? Is it the person designing the policy, or the person struggling to carry groceries across a parking lot? When rules are designed for the big picture, who is thinking about the small moments that make life harder for people who already move more slowly and plan more carefully? There's also a quiet emotional layer to this change. For many older Californians, independence matters deeply. Being able to run your own errands, shop for your own food, and manage daily tasks without help is tied to dignity. When something as simple as a bag becomes a problem, it chips away at that independence. It forces adjustments, it forces reliance, and it raises an uncomfortable question seniors ask themselves more often than they admit. How long before I need help with things I used to do easily? This law is not about plastic. It is about adaptation. It is about whether you are prepared before the change hits, or whether you are caught off guard in a checkout line, feeling rushed and frustrated. Seniors who plan ahead will feel the difference less. Those who don't may feel it every single week. So the real question is not whether the bag ban is good or bad. The real question is this. Are you setting yourself up to stay in control, or are you letting small changes slowly dictate how comfortable your days feel? Because 2026 isn't bringing just one new rule. It is bringing many. And this is only the first reminder that the details matter. Number 2, rental habitability standards. What happens when your refrigerator dies overnight? The food spoils by morning, and the landlord says they will get to it next week. And what if that week turns into a month while you're standing in the kitchen wondering how you're supposed to eat safely, take your medication properly, or stretch a fixed income when groceries keep going bad? Starting in 2026, California is changing that reality. Under the new law, a rental unit will no longer be considered livable unless it includes a working stove and a working refrigerator. If either appliance is recalled by the manufacturer, the landlord must repair or replace it within 30 days of receiving notice. On paper, this sounds like a basic standard. In real life, especially for seniors, it fixes a problem that has been quietly harming people for years. For many older renters, a broken refrigerator is not an inconvenience. It is a health risk. Insulin needs refrigeration. Fresh food matters when you are managing diabetes, heart conditions, or dietary restrictions. When food spoils, the cost doesn't just hit your wallet. It hits your routine, your nutrition, and sometimes your dignity. You start buying smaller amounts. You eat more processed food. You skip meals, all because something that should have been fixed never was. The same goes for a stove that doesn't work properly. Cooking at home is often the only way seniors can control both cost and health. Eating out is expensive. Frozen or pre-made meals are not always ideal. When a stove breaks and repairs drag on, seniors are forced into choices they shouldn't have to make. Do I spend more money on food I can't really afford? Do I eat things I know aren't good for me? Or do I wait and hope the landlord eventually responds? What makes this worse is the power imbalance. Many seniors hesitate to push back. They worry about retaliation. They worry about rent increases. They worry about being labeled difficult. So they wait, they adapt, they absorb the inconvenience quietly. Over time, that quiet adaptation becomes normal, even when it shouldn't be. This new law shifts that balance slightly back toward renters. It draws a clear line. A home without a working stove or refrigerator is not just uncomfortable. It is not acceptable, and for seniors, that distinction matters. It turns a personal struggle into a legal standard, but the law only helps if people know it exists and use it. That is where the real question comes in. How many seniors will continue living with broken appliances simply because they assume nothing can be done? How many will blame themselves for a problem that is no longer their responsibility? This change is not about luxury. It is about basic dignity. It is about recognizing that safe food storage and the ability to cook are essential to health, especially as we age. It is also a reminder that writing things down matters. Reporting issues in writing matters. Asking clear questions before renewing a lease matters, because in 2026, the rules are changing. And this time, the law is finally acknowledging something seniors have known all along. A home is not just a roof and four walls. It is the place where health is protected or quietly compromised, one broken appliance at a time. Number 3, insulin cost cap. January has always been the hardest month for people who rely on insulin. New year, new deductible, and suddenly the same prescription that felt manageable in December becomes shockingly expensive again. For years, many seniors learned to brace themselves for that first pharmacy visit of the year, never quite knowing how much they would be asked to pay, only knowing it might hurt. Starting in 2026, California is finally putting a hard stop to that uncertainty. Under the new law, the total amount a person pays for insulin each month will be capped at $35. This combines copays, co-insurance, and deductibles. Insurance companies will no longer be allowed to force patients to pay hundreds of dollars upfront before coverage kicks in. For seniors living with diabetes, this is not just a policy change. It is a shift in how predictable life can feel. Insulin is not optional. It is not a medication you can stretch, skip, or replace with willpower. Yet for years, people quietly made impossible decisions. Some rationed doses, some delayed refills. Some stood at the pharmacy counter calculating whether they could afford both their medication and their groceries that week. These were not reckless choices. They were survival choices made under pressure. This law does something simple but powerful. It removes the monthly guessing game. Seniors can now look at their budget and know with confidence that insulin won't suddenly blow a hole through it. That sense of predictability matters more than many people realize. When you live on a fixed income, stability is safety. Every unexpected expense creates stress. And stress takes a toll on health just as surely as high blood sugar does. Of course, there are limits. The cap applies to certain private insurance plans regulated by the state, including Covered California and specific plans from major insurers. It does not magically fix every gap in the system. But for those who qualify, it changes the tone of each month. Instead of fear, there is planning. Instead of rationing, there is consistency. The deeper impact of this law goes beyond money. It restores a measure of dignity. No one should have to explain why they can't afford medication that keeps them alive. No one should have to choose between insulin and rent. By drawing a clear line, California is acknowledging that insulin is essential care, not a luxury. For seniors, this is one of those rare changes that truly works in their favor, but it only helps if people know to ask the right questions. Which plan are you on? Does it qualify? Will the cap apply to you starting January? Because relief only reaches those who understand how to claim it. And in a system that has long relied on confusion, clarity is its own form of protection. Number 4, CalRX insulin launch. For years, insulin prices have felt like a trap with no backup plan. If your insurance changed, if a plan stopped covering a brand, or if you fell into a coverage gap, the cost shock could be immediate and brutal. Many seniors learned the hard way that relying on one option meant living with constant uncertainty. California's CalRX insulin program is designed to change that feeling. Beginning in 2026, the state plans to offer its own branded insulin at a low, fixed price. It is expected to be no more than $55 for a pack of 5 pens. This is not about replacing private insurance. It is about creating a safety net when the system doesn't work the way it should. The power of CalRX is not just the number on the price tag, it is the existence of a second door. For seniors who have watched insulin prices swing wildly depending on insurance rules, pharmacy contracts, or mid-year plan changes, having a state-backed option changes the emotional math. It means you are not completely exposed when something shifts out of your control. Subscribe to Tax Hack Pro.